Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Mystery School on Star Nations. It's so good to have you with us tonight. I'm so delighted about our subject matter for this evening. Hey, Carl and Ortrune.
Hi,
Dana. Good to be with you.
It's so good to be with the both of you tonight. You look so comfy and cozy there in front of the fireplace.
Yes, and Carl's all bundled up with his blanket over him and everything. So,
Aww. Well, tonight we're going to have a great time here at the Mystery School and talk about something actually that was left over from last week. A wonderful question, great subject matter, and I'm wondering, Ortrune, if you could just take us through maybe 60 seconds of some centering breath work to get us ready for where we're going to go tonight at the Mystery School.
Yes, okay. So let's just take a moment and allow yourself to become still. And as you are settling in to this time, our time together this evening, begin to sense, of course, the divine ones that are around us. And with that being said, begin to take a deep breath. Breathing in deeply, bringing that breath all the way down into your abdominal area. The prana, the essence of life. And allow yourself to exhale now. Releasing each time that you exhale and bringing in new life with each new breath. So take yet another deep breath. Breathing in love. And as you exhale, you focus upon your next breath. Breathing in light. Breathing in light. And as you continue to take these deep breaths, sense that presence as we are all being surrounded by our essence of light, love, peace, and joy. We join together, continue to breathe, breathing more naturally now. Joining together in oneness and opening ourselves up to allow the energies to come in from the center of all of creation. Breathe in the divine essence of the heavens. And exhale and allow yourself now to breathe in the essence of our sacred planet Earth. Breathe it in. And sense how, as you are breathing in this essence of the sacred Earth, it meets with the divine essence of the heavens. For with every breath, you are connecting heaven and earth, creating heaven and earth within yourself. With every breath that you take. And allow yourself now to expand and enfold all those that are present here with us as we become one in harmony and unity and open to receive that which the divine desires to share with us. And for this, we are truly grateful and thankful. And so it is, for we are one. We are one.
That was beautiful, Ortrune. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dear.
And for those of you that happen to be watching tonight, hey, Rob, It's good to see you there in the chat room. If you would do us the great favor of liking and sharing this, that would be fantastic. Last month, when we were together, the three of us, Julie Hedges asked the question, and it came up last night on my show, Balancing Heaven and Earth, and it seems to be coming up in sessions that I am having with my clients. It's about this time that we're living in right now on Grandmother Earth. It's very tumultuous. It's very testing of us, right? It's testing us right down to the core of who we are. Just earlier this evening, Sandra Herrick called me and said, something is going on, and really the masks are dropping off, and we are being rendered right down to our bones right now. Anything that we have not dealt with, anything that we have not healed, I talked about it last night. It's coming up for review right now. How do the both of you describe this time that we're living in right now on Grandmother?
Chaotic. It's a time of extraordinarily rapid change. Rapid change always creates stress. And we're feeling it in our physical bodies because our physical bodies are trying to keep up with the rise of the earth in its consciousness. And right now, the earth is ahead of most of us. So in order to catch up with it, we need to raise our consciousness. And I have to say the light workers, in my experience, are doing a good job, but the general population is not. And this results in what we call the Ascension symptoms. And I find that they are unique to each person. Many of them have the same ones, but none of them will have the same combination of symptoms. And it seems like for most people, it's not just a single thing. It's numerous things. And I want to throw out what I think is a big part of the solution. If you focus on what's wrong with your body, those thoughts are going to accentuate it and make it more intense. Rather, I want you to focus on seeing your body overcoming that and being pain-free, being comfortable. And whatever organ or part of the body it is, fill it with light and love and ask the divas that work with that part of your body to raise the frequency of it. And you can help by opening yourself up. There is high frequency energy coming to us from literally every single direction. It's coming from beneath us, from the Mother Earth. It's coming to us also from within the earth, from inner earth. It's coming to us from these high waves of energy that are coming into the planet on an irregular basis. But the waves keep getting stronger and stronger, and it's therefore us to take in. It's important to keep our chakras and energy centers open so that we can absorb them and integrate them within our physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual bodies. It's coming from our higher dimensional space, brothers and sisters. It's coming from within our own soul. Okay, so there's no way that we can turn, but what we know, we are not having help offered to us. Are you open to receive it? And are you asking for it? And are you working with your body and with the divas? And are you seeing yourself being perfect? And I think that's a big part of how we work our way through this.
What would you add to that, Ortrun? And thank you for that, Carl. That says volumes.
What was really coming to me is that we also are at this stage of our life review. And in the mystery schools, you go through the initiatory processes, and we've talked about this before, not maybe on the show, but as far as like in the Great Pyramid, then you line the sarcophagus, and the masters would be with you, and they would then put the top of the lid of the sarcophagus upon you, because you're more in this meditative state, and there you would have your life review. And because the energy of the planet is being so much uplifted, and we are moving so much into that higher level of awareness and consciousness, all of us, I believe, are going through life review. And with this life review, I believe also we're seeing the things that we ourselves have to continue to work upon. So that's why the different areas that are coming up for us that are challenging and are bringing us those ascension symptoms, I believe that's really part of what we still have to look at within ourselves, because there are still remnants that are hanging around. And also, and I never want to have you forget that whatever you do for yourself, you are also doing for the planet.
That's right.
And as you are assisting the planet, because of many of us being empaths, we can feel those energies that the people are experiencing on the planet. And so we may have just a little fraction of something to work on, but when we're working on that, we're also starting to help those around us uplift that pattern, that energy pattern. And then we do have those different symptoms. And they can be as minor as, achy body, it can be the sniffles, it can be, but then it can be more extreme, depending on what it is that you are, seems to be your, I'm going to say your Achilles heel, because we all have something that's our Achilles heel. And so, but recognize that we have come here to make the commitment to not only do it for ourselves, but also to assist in others being able to get over that hump so they can also continue on that journey of ascension. So truly, when these occur, and some of them are quite serious, do you mind my sharing what we had happen to us over the last couple of weeks?
No.
Well, so about a week and a half ago, Carl started out with a cold, and he has a pattern, and he tends to go into that pattern of where it goes right into his chest. So that's an area that's one of his Achilles heels. And so, but as he is working with, like he said, the positivity of it, the more that he can also assist people that have those kind of symptoms, because he can help transmute that energy vibration that's carried with that.
But Dana, I want to move ahead here. Do you know what the end result of all of these symptoms are going to be?
No, let's talk about that, because I know that it's hopeful.
Instead of having bodies made out of carbon, we're going to have bodies made out of silicon crystal. And you can't make that transition without tremendous amounts of adjustment, because this is the very essence of our everything here is carbon based in our body, and anything living in the world is carbon based. And we're going through that transition. And I have to assume that all life forms are going through that transition too. And that to be fully in the fifth dimension, we need to be crystalline based. And crystal is made out of silicon. So, but that's what we're, the result of, quote, our suffering and our pain.
Right. Well, Meg Anutto is tuned in. Hey, Meg. Hi, everybody. Tracy, it's good to see you here too. And so she's making the comment, Meg and Rochelle both, that right now it seems that everything is exaggerated, from emotional problems, mental problems, spiritual problems, physical problems. Everything right now is exaggerated. And last night, Julie pointed out during my show about, Saturn is hanging out right now with all of us. So for those that are not dealing with their stuff, Saturn is saying, wait a minute, you don't have a choice anymore. You need to deal with your stuff. You need to go into that dark tunnel. You need to go into that corridor. And guess what? Nobody can do it for you. This is yours.
Exactly.
You're working on it, or you're not. Right. And what happens when people choose not? to work on their stuff at this time, because we're really all of us being called to do so.
I believe it'll get more intense.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the thing is, yes, it's intense at this point, but never in the history of humanity, so far as we know, have there ever been so many aids available to us.
Yeah.
Well, I think that, as Carl said, it's going to become more intense. And there will be a point in time, as the one that is addicted, he's had the ones that have addiction, they end up bottoming out, they call it. Mm-hmm. And then once they bottom out, there's really that choice of, okay, I'm done. I'm going to start moving up. And
I'm absolutely floored that you just said that, because Sandy Herrick and I were chatting tonight for a good long while about exactly what you just said, addictions. Mm-hmm. Some people are addicted to their drama. Some people are addicted to their emotional, whatever it happens to be, roller coaster. Some people are addicted to substances, addicted to sex, to gambling, to spending money, addicted to a whole lot of things. And we just talked about that tonight, the spirit of addiction, and identifying the spirit of addiction and working through it, recognizing it, unmasking it, and working through it. It's really an amazing time to be alive, to be able to work through those things. Generational patterns can be healed, ancestral traumas can be healed, but the work is not easy. It's intense, it's deep, it's hard, it's revealing. You can't hide behind the masks of, because we're all just kind of gutted at this point. And I do agree that it becomes even more intense, and the vice really does tighten up when people aren't willing to take an honest look. I mean, people can take a cursory look, but to take an honest look at whatever the addiction happens to be and the spirit of addictions. A lot of people may not be aware that addictions, actually, there is a spirit of and entities attached to. And when it comes to all of that kind of a thing, you two are two of the most well-versed people on the planet with regard to the spirit of addiction and the entity of that. Would you talk about that for just a moment?
Yes. Addictions are one of the most powerful tools that the dark forces have to keep us from evolving and growing. Addictions and fear are their two basic elements. And Julie mentioned something earlier here. She said, how about emotional items?
Yeah.
You mentioned that as a possible addiction, but I want to say that with emotions, the vast majority of our emotions come out of what we are thinking. And if we will be disciplined to be aware of the thoughts we're holding and how it makes us feel, and if it makes us feel in negative or critical or judgmental or anything that's less than love and joy, please don't hold on to that thought. Replace it with a thought that brings you love and joy. And that way you can smooth out much of the emotional yo-yo and the depression.
Mm-hmm. I love that. My hubby, your pal Todd, just asked a really great question, because sometimes we can focus on the negative. And so if things are being exaggerated right now, and you just alluded to it, Carl, we can also then have an exaggeration of positivity.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. But see, that's part of our emotional. See, you, especially for people that are emotional, they can have the highs because they're very, very high, and then all of a sudden they're dropping all the way down to the bottom. As far as, you think, oh, I'm going to stay here forever, but then all of a sudden they're down at the bottom. And so the more that you recognize your patterns, the more then you can start focusing on how it is that you need to balance yourself out. Because what we really want to do is, we don't want to lose emotion. We want to be able to still experience both the positive and the negative energies, but we want to be able to experience them at a more level space. Because, our whole experience here upon the planet is that duality. So it's going to be there. So to learn how to bring those emotions into more of a balanced pattern is a very, very good thing to do. And I think people that are extremely emotional, they've probably experienced that. And, and I know I know there are many that have had more of an issue with it than I have, but certainly I remember those times where I would either be so happy or I would be so low because I just didn't know how to balance it out. And so how do you balance it out? Well, of course, I always believe that the way that you balance it out is by going within. And as you said, it's hard because there's all kinds of discipline that takes place. So the first thing you have to do is decide, I'm going to be disciplined. I'm going to work on this for myself. But I think many times that doesn't happen until you actually bottom out in different arenas. Then you make that decision, okay, I'm done. I'm coming back up. It's the dark night of the soul. I'm coming back up out of this. And, you walk back out of that, not in a different direction, but you're coming back through the same thing that dropped you down. So those are the things that are going to come up for you, are the things that took you to that place. Now, to be able to get through those, work with your masters and your guides and your angels. That's why anytime I start any meditation or we start off our day or we go to sleep at night, we ask that our masters and our guides and angels and loved ones, anyone that's working with us, that they be with us, and then start looking at what it is that is your particular issue. So, and then start using breathing techniques or visualization techniques, or there's or music. You can use music, sound. You can use toning, and so that you can start breathing through all the chakras and all of them starting to open, so that you can, as I mentioned in that little bit of an opening that I did, creating that heaven on earth, because that's really what it's all about right now, is for us to create heaven on earth. And so everything's been shaken out of us. And that's why everything's so exaggerated out in the world right now, too, is because, hey, look, we're seeing all this out here, but hey, have we looked at ourselves? What's still left over within us? And again, as I mentioned, it's a twofold thing. You're helping yourself, you're helping the planet. And I believe that once you see what your purpose is within yourself, you'll also see what that purpose is that you are carrying out for the planet.
Yeah.
Beautifully.
Rob, I want to comment on your statement there. It's my feeling that we either, to a fair extent, control our emotions, or we let our emotions control us. And I do believe for most of us, that's our choice.
Well, we always have a choice, right, Carl?
I would say mostly it's our choice. Sometimes there are extenuating circumstances like mental illness that may be somewhat beyond our choice.
But yet, on the other hand, even mental illness is something that someone may have chosen as their path, of overcoming and
That's
to learning
correct.
to grow from and understanding, because how it is that they are able to learn to cope with that particular issue, that also in turn, again, is putting another little bit of that light, a vibration, an energy vibration into the planet to help uplift all of us.
Dana, what are your thoughts? You're awful quiet tonight.
Well, I'm just listening. I love the fact that I get to do this show, because normally when you had your other show, I just called in all the time to ask questions. So this way, here we all are, and I get to listen to what you're talking about. But I agree with all of the above. And, so people will say, so, all right, we're going through this, what we are terming on this show anyway, the ascension process. And we're not talking about the Easter ascension or any of that. So if some of you are wondering, are we alluding to that? We're not. We're talking metaphorically here. We're talking about the elevation of who we are. And as both Carl and Ortrun have said, ultimately, the elevation of all of life here on Grandmother Earth, or the realization that we are all related, and that, what we do to ourselves, the whole spiel about that. And I would say that this is really also a time where we are being asked about who are we and who are we presenting to the world? Who are we presenting to the world? Are we self-realizing our potential or the potential that society or relatives or what have you has put upon us? Are we being authentic? This is a time of being completely and utterly, I believe anyway, authentic, because I believe that's the only way that we can fully realize and shine our light on this earth plane. And it does come right down to the ceremonies. You know, the three of us have been blessed with having gone to Egypt and experiencing the temples, experiencing the ceremonies, experiencing the star nations as the ancient Egyptians understood them. And even beyond that, the Atlanteans, we've been graced by having those experiences. And so I have to believe that as we cut away the crap, because that's really what we're talking about right now, cutting away the crap and getting down to the business of who we are and what's really important. What's really important to us, to all of us together. And I think, for me anyway, we're being asked the question, isn't it true that your neighbor is as important as you are? Isn't it true that Mother Nature is as important as you are and as beloved? You know, John Davis has always used this phrase, and I've adopted it for myself because I really like it. All children are our children. And I think that I extrapolate that into all of the expressions of Creator are our children and are under our care.
Definitely.
And I think we're in that time. And so if those babies come from Syria, they come from Lebanon, they come from Egypt, they come from Ireland, wherever they come from, isn't it true that we're responsible, not responsible for one another? I'm not saying that, but aren't we all citizens of the matrix? Does that make sense?
It does to me, because to me, there's only one thing that exists throughout the universe, and that is the consciousness of the Creator. And our soul is a pixel or a part of that divine consciousness. And everything in the universe is a pixel of the divine consciousness of the Creator. There is only one. And our job is to recognize that we are a microcosm of the Creator, as is everyone and everything else.
Right. And the three of us can sit here and talk about this, and we agree with all of that. And, you know, Cindy Lynn is saying, I agree, Carl. Absolutely. The three of us can agree. Everybody who's watching probably would agree with that. But there is a huge number of people that this is a brand new concept.
Yes.
A brand new concept. It's us and them. It's not you and me and we. It's us and them. Fear-based, lack-based. And so for me, when somebody says, well, you know, Dana, what do I do when it seems like the world has gone to hell in a handbasket around me? I just want to stay in bed. What do I do about that? For me, the answer is go out there and be you and be authentically you.
And turn off the news.
And well, yeah, let's not watch all that news all the time. Let's not feed into that, but get out there and just be you. It's not a magic potion. We don't have to be in the king's chamber of the Great Pyramid in high ceremony, which we've all done, to just go out there and be who we truly are and work on our own stuff so that we can then shine brighter and walk more lovingly in this world. What would you add to that? Or am I just being a Pollyanna about all of this?
No, you're not being a Pollyanna. I think the three of us have come to the space of understanding. And many that are listening in, I believe, have come to the understanding that we are actually here for this. And like you said, there are many that are just now starting to awaken to even thinking that this is what they need to do. And, we have to remember that this planet has been in darkness for quite a while. And many of us came, and probably most of us that are listening in, we came here to this planet to assist in its upliftment. But, Dana, you have to remember, and I know you do know this, is that we have been fortunate, but the thing is that the reason why we've been fortunate is because we put ourselves out there to do it. We put ourselves out there so that we studied. We did the different practices. We learned many, many different things. And I think the one thing that the three of us have in common is that we have that desire for outreach. Mm-hmm. It's not just us. It's not just me. But see, there are so many people that are in survival mode. Mm-hmm. And as long as they're in survival mode, it's going to be focused more on me. Right. And it's only when they can step out of, I'm starving. I can't, I just can't live another day because my stomach is just hurting because I'm so hungry. So you have to recognize that, but they are there also to experience that and to come to understand that. But with our love and with our light, and that's why it's so important for us to embrace not just ourselves, every day with our angels and masters and guides, but to radiate and shine our divine light and love out into the whole planet and see that planet being basked in that healing light and love energy, so that these ones that are at that survival mode are then, because they will be touched, because we all have that soul within us, and eventually we do get touched by that, and it starts to help us be uplifted.
Right. Carl, and thank you for that, Ortrud. Carl, would you talk for just a moment about who it is in the ethers, in the world of spirit, that you believe are assisting us at this time with, somebody recently said, it was Amantha Murphy. She said, we are no longer in the age of duality. We are now entering into the age of unity. I love that quote. We are no longer in the age of duality. We are now in the time of unity. Carl, who do you believe is helping us to create unity here on Grandmother Earth from the spirit realm?
Thanks for asking that. In the 3,000 life script readings that I've done, one of the questions we ask, who is working with you from the spirit realm? And the answers are usually very similar. We all have 21 or 22 angels, and many of them have been with us through multiple lifetimes. They know us better than we know ourselves. Secondly, we all have one, but mostly two guides that are on the heavenly realm. And to be a guide to someone here in physical is the most popular job there is in heaven. Then when we reach a certain level of consciousness, we will attract to ourselves a master teacher. A master teacher is someone who has mastered the earth school. And the master teachers, Hamid Bey, for example, was a master teacher. Mm-hmm. And master teachers, by and large, are not focusing on their own spiritual growth at this time. They're rather opening schools to help as many people ascend during this window of opportunity. And as we continue our growth in spirit, we may well attract an ascended master teacher. Mm-hmm. And the most noted one is Saint Germain. Mm. And a master teacher has graduated from the Earth School and the Master's School. And I don't want to say they're at the level of an archangel, but they're very highly evolved, wise beings, as you can know through your whatever experience or knowledge you have of Saint Germain. So we have all of those from the spirit realm. But even more important than those, all light workers are descended beings. We came from elsewhere. Ortrud came from the angelic realm. I came from the spirit realm. I have memory of having been an Elohim. And when we came down, our soul had to divide itself many times. And we have all of these higher aspects of our soul overlighting, guiding, and just standing ready, waiting to be asked for our help. And our whole spirit family they're always available 24/7. Many are with us physically 24/7, but they're not allowed to interfere because of the law of non-interference. Whatever help we want, we have to ask. And not only ask, but then we need to be open to receive. And their dream is that we become one with them, that we allow them to become one with us, that they can literally express themselves using their energy through our physical body. And if we do that, what's that going to do to ascension symptoms? What's that going to do to the problems and challenges that we have? They're going to evaporate. We're going to overcome them. We're going to learn very quickly what we need to learn and move on.
That's wonderful. I'm just going to keep you up on the screen like this and me behind the screen, because so how do people get in touch with their angels and their guides? There may be some people that are listening to you tonight that it's beginning to make sense, but Carl, they don't know how to get in touch with any of those 22 angels.
It's so simple. You have to, first of all, meditation. You go into the alpha state, all right? And in that state, get as deep as you can. And then let your consciousness just go roam around your room. They're there. They're right there. And if you're sensitive, you'll feel their presence. If you're not sensitive, you can ask them to let them know that they're there. And it may be you'll hear something in your head, or you'll feel something, or whatever. And then begin conversing with them. And when you talk to them, also take time to listen. And this is why meditation is much superior in my mind to prayer, because in prayer it's a monologue, but in meditation you can dialogue with your spirit family.
Well, the thing of it is, meditation is both the process of communicating and also listening.
Yes.
So, and now in some of the churches, they even, call it listening prayer, because we're so used to having prayed and always prayed and looked outward. And I think this is really important, is for us to start looking inward and to recognize, because we've always seen, I'm going to say God out here, and we're always trying to get closer and closer, where if you truly believe that we are all divine aspects of God, then that God is within us. And so when you go to meditate, because that's really the key is meditating, is to focus within and start communicating with that divine essence that is within you. And that's how you can get together and in touch with these many angels and masters and guides that are truly, they're a part of you. But it's a process, it's first, well, I can't really meditate. Well, one of the things is that people have been told that you have to sit there for half an hour. You have to be in this position. Those are all disciplines. But the thing of it is that you're always communicating. Meditation, I believe, is a way of life. Meditation is, they call it now mindfulness. That's a good first step into meditation, is that mindfulness. Because if you choose to experience, that bit of food that you're going to take in your mouth, you're thinking and expressing that this is the best thing for me, and we are one. We're uniting in oneness. You're becoming part of me. So to live in that manner throughout the day as much as possible is so important, because then you can walk through your day and be at peace. And when you do get off center, off track for a bit, because of the influences yet, even though it is a time of unity, it's a time of oneness for sure, but there's this other part that's still going on here on the planet too, And when you're distracted, or there's something still within you that you haven't quite resolved, and that distracts you, very quickly bring your thought back into, as Carl said, that thought. And one of my thoughts way back when many of us have a big issue with this chattering going on in our heads.
Right.
Well, we can't quiet that mind.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember years and years ago deciding to listen to what's coming into my head. And it was amazing to me how the thoughts that flowed through my brain, they were not even me, but I was picking them up and allowing them to become, me, that like they were my thought. And so when that kind of thing occurs, think light, love. Get yourself a trigger word, a word that changes that energy vibration within you from where you have this sense of fear or pain or so on. And if you have to say the word love, it's affirmations, they're often called, over and over again. Say it until you actually feel that all flowing through your being again.
Hey, Dana, I want to ask you a question. You said that you talked about in your program walking between the worlds.
Mm-hmm.
What state are you in when you're doing that? Are you in a real strong conscious state? Are you in a meditative state? Are you in an in-between state? Where are you?
Well, for me, it's just my state of being is walking between the worlds. So as you know, for me, it's more of an effort to focus on my physicality than it is on the non-physicality. So I am always having to focus on what's right in front of me and the physicality of being here on the earth plane. Otherwise, I am always ensconced in spirit. And that is really the major reality for me in this particular lifetime. And then when you add to that a left brain stroke in 2005, then all of a sudden it's even more of an effort to remain on the physical plane. Yep. And so, when we walk between the worlds, you both walk between the worlds, I walk between the worlds. We have an idea of seeing things from a perspective that maybe others don't have with regard to what's going on right now. Our indigenous elders walk between the worlds, and they would say this is the time of Mitakuye-Oyasin, of we're all related, of unity, of the return of the sacred and ancient teachings.
Yes.
Which really were, I believe, sacred and ancient teachings about the fact that we all are stardust that coagulated and came here to, as you say, Carl, the outpost, Grandmother Earth, to light her up. Yep. And for so many centuries, all of those ancient indigenous teachings of all people, not just Native America, but all people, were underground. They went away. And now in the past few decades, they're beginning to resurface.
Yes.
And now they are right here. Believe it or not. Believe it or not, here they are.
See, for me, and I spend a fair portion, I believe, each day of walking between the worlds, which means instead of my brain waves at the 20-22 per second, I'm somewhere down around 13, 14, 15, which is the cusp between working out of the conscious mind and working in the alpha state, out of the conscious and subconscious. So it's easy to slip into the alpha state while still being consciously aware.
Absolutely.
But when necessary, then moving it back into the conscious state where you're working only out of the conscious mind.
Right.
So in that state, I feel that I'm literally walking between the two worlds, one foot in the spirit world and one foot in the physical world.
Yes, I believe that people who are working their way through Alzheimer's, dementia, I believe that these are also experiences people have of walking between the worlds. I also believe that happens to people who have their pituitary or their pineal blown open by doing organic hallucinogens, whether it's peyote, ayahuasca, all of those, LSD, all of those kind of things. There's a spontaneous blowing open of the third eye, of the third chakra, and it puts us into states for some people that renders them rather helpless in the physical world because they weren't groomed or they weren't born to walk in both worlds to the extent that we do. Rob asked a question just a little bit back about going into the theta state. How do you feel about that with regard to communing with our spiritual guides?
It's beyond my experience. I don't feel qualified to answer that.
Okay.
My experience in the theta state, I would say that out-of-body experiences would be the theta state. And I've only had a couple of those experiences, and they've been spontaneous. I have not done it intentionally.
No, I describe Carl's my relationship as him being that balloon up there in the sky, and I'm hanging on to that string and trying to keep his feet on the ground. So as far as him walking between the two worlds in a balanced manner, I'm not so sure that he does that unless he really has to focus on, he'd prefer to be up there. So, and luckily he's got me to keep grounding him and bringing him back. But meditation is that what he's speaking about with that, I say it's a way of life. And it's because of the brainwave pattern that he was speaking of, is that we can go through our day in that state of a light meditation, and so when you start your day, if you take a few deep breaths and you feel that essence of love and peace in your heart, then you're dropping into that brainwave pattern that Carl was speaking of, and then bring yourself up just a little bit so you're always tuned in. Mm-hmm. So that way you're always walking between the two worlds.
Mm-hmm.
Margaret, I would say yes to your question.
I love this question. Thank you, Meg. I have to just repeat it right out loud.
Please
do you feel the ancestors, like the Essenes, etc., are etherically increased their presence here to assist us more than ever before, now than ever before in the history of Earth? Yes. And as three of us going through Coptic training and being Coptic ministers, yes, we love the subject of the Essenes.
Right, because the Essenes are part of that heritage of the Coptics. So there's that step before Coptics, which moved into Coptics. Copts, which is Egyptian for Egyptian Christians. But so the teachings, the mystery school teachings, came into the Christian aspects, before they were sort of forgotten, but they're still in there. If you
Absolutely.
Look, if you look, they're there. They're there in the Christian teachings. They were brought forward, and of course, being raised Catholic, you and I we were exposed to what seemed like quite a bit of mysticism. There's symbologies and mysticisms, and that's where those stories are. But that's it, and that's what the mystery schools are good for. But I always say the mystery school is really you, because it's always focusing within. Focus within in prayer and in meditation, because then you're starting to know who it is that you are and becoming that authentic self that you're talking about. It's called Sahu in the ancient Egyptian language. It's Sahu. For you are that fully realized self, and that's what we're learning to become. And yes, there's pain with it. There's because we're still physical, unfortunately, because that's part of it, is because we're still physical. So we still experience things in our physical bodies because of that, that transition of our coming back and collecting. What we're doing right now is we're collecting who it is that we truly are.
Right.
We are awakening to who it is that we truly are. And because we left that heart and mind of God, and as we left it, we left parts of ourselves behind, because we couldn't just leave that heart and mind of God and carry that high energy vibration and come into what was designed to be a teaching plan at the third dimension. And so we stepped down. And as we stepped down, we left parts of ourselves there. And now is the time that we are starting to gather ourselves together from those different levels that we had experienced as we came down. So, we talk about our angels and our guides and our masters. But the thing of it is that they're really all a part of us. It's really us. So when we are calling upon our angel or our guides, they're already there. They're already a part of us. We're drawing on that aspect of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Is what we're doing is when we're calling upon, or the same thing with the totem animals, because they represent different forms of life, And when we call upon those, we're calling upon that aspect of ourselves, which again goes back to being the divine.
Right. Meg and I have had some amazing conversations about the Christian Bible with regard to allegory and parable. We had that the other day, Tuesday morning. She and I were on that subject. She and I have talked about the Essenes and the influence of the Essenes, the Therapeutae, right? And there are different branches of the Essenes. But isn't it marvelous that we're living in a time where we can get a copy of the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, the Gospel of Philip, and all of these magnificent pieces that were left out, the Council of Nicaea and all of those sorts of things that happened back in the day. But with the return of and the introduction of Aquarius, all of a sudden part of the antiquity that I believe is rising out of the sands of time are these magnificent accounts, spiritual, mystical allegories, parables about who we truly are, who Grandmother Earth truly is, the nature of all things, and ascending into that knowledge. I believe that knowledge becomes our wisdom when we walk with that knowledge and we experience what it is that we are learning. So if we could talk for just a moment about why it is that here on the earth plane we could learn about something. And say, for instance, we're talking about tonight the Essenes. We're talking about the ancestors, ancestral wisdom, the mystery schools. And we're also talking about, most importantly, inner work. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, perhaps tomorrow or the day after, somebody who's watching this show may all of a sudden be exposed to a situation, a thought, a memory, that asks them to do the inner work. Why is it that in our humanness, our knowledge is also then asked to be applied to our daily life? Why do we have to go through that stuff? Why can't we just read it?
I think a lot of that's coming out of past life and out of memory. And to read it would be like being a spectator in a football game versus being a player on the field.
Mm-hmm. Right. And truly to understand. You see, if we don't experience anything, we don't really understand. Mm-hmm. I believe for myself that because I experience many, many things upon the planet, that's what allows me to be a good counselor, because I understand it. If you never experience anything that's here on the planet, how can you truly help and assist others? Mm-hmm. It's like, oh yeah, you read a book, but it didn't really, it might have, because, some people can read and they can feel all that emotion, and they can learn, and we do learn from books, certainly. Right. I mean, that's the way we've learned for years. But the thing of it is that having the physical experiences and then being able to bring ourselves through those times, that's what allows us to then understand and be more embracing of others. Mm-hmm. If we've never experienced anything, it's really hard to embrace and look at someone and say, mm-hmm. Why are they having, what's wrong with them? Why can't they get through this? Well, but if you've experienced it, you know how it's a step-by-step process, and how, you're moving through one little piece of it at a time, that you're spiraling up. We walk this path and you're spiraling up, and we're looking at every aspect, every angle of whatever that issue is. And then all of a sudden there it is. We've gotten it, because now we understand all the different parts of it, of the puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we learn here upon the planet. And that's what we, I believe we're here for. And that's how we then, of course, assist the ones that are coming to us, for assistance.
Mm-hmm.
And because we're in this process of uplifting the planet, there are more and more, like you said, they're being awakened to it, but they don't quite trust it.
Right.
We were, I mean, I don't know about you, but I know I was there at one point in time
Mm-hmm.
where now I moved into trusting, where a long time ago I did, but that doesn't mean I trust in everything yet. There's still areas where I'm learning to trust. This is my challenge now. Is okay, I'm going to trust in this arena now. So, and that's part of then that connection that happens for us. So,
Dana, I'd like to bring this back full
Yes.
circle to our starting point, Ascension symptoms.
Yeah.
And just share what for me will be a closing thought here. I believe that the essence of the ascension is for us to merge in consciousness fully and totally with our divine soul, which is the divine essence within us.
Mm-hmm.
And a stepping stone, at least for me, has been to first become one with my spirit family, and then to become one with my soul. And I believe as we come closer to accomplishing that and then fully accomplish it, we will be vibrating at a frequency above the pain that our physical body can experience. So we'll be beyond the ascension symptoms because we will have attained the ascension. How does that resonate with you?
I think that's superb. I really like that. I often say the same thing. I just use a different terminology, and that is that we are to integrate with our solar angelic self. And oftentimes I use the tale of the prophet Enoch, who in Genesis was walking with the Lord, or the law, as we are taught in Coptic, that Enoch is walking with the law of balance, walking in balance. And all of a sudden in Genesis, it says that Enoch was walking with the law, or the Lord, and then he was not. And the question is, well, where did Enoch go? And when we dig further into the ancient teachings, we find out that the prophet Enoch, walking in balance with the law of harmony, of we are all one, all of those good things, all of a sudden ascends into his solar angelic self. And we now know Enoch as the archangel Metatron. And there are other teachings that come out of the book of Enoch and, of course, the Old Testament with regard to this transformation that you're talking about. But none of that can happen without visiting the inner world, the inner castle.
Yes.
Right. Mm-hmm.
That's
what
where
are
it
your
takes
thoughts,
place.
Right. Well, I just want to say, and this is the time of year for us to truly be doing this, because this is the time of the year that we are into the darker nights, and that's all representative of what it is that we are doing, is to go within. It's going into that darkness and meeting, with that that moon energy, the divine energies of connection within, because the masters, they all went into their places, of darkness, whether it was into their dark cave or 40 days in the wilderness, all those different things. That's all that going within and starting to look at yourself and starting to see, what it is that you are all about, and what is it that, even Jesus, when he was walking the way of the cross, he God, why have you forsaken me? He had his times because he was also human, right? And so we also are human, but we get ourselves back into that inner essence and connect. And then we get that, we're recharged. By going within, we get recharged. And then we come back and bring it into the outer world again. That world that we see as the light, daylight or night or day. So we're going through that process every single day to begin with, and we're given that example every single day. And of course, we're seeing that also with the seasons now, and it is the sacred time right now.
1 minute.
Mm-hmm. And that's what it said, that the Trinity, the Divine Trinity, is actually starts on November 11th through January 11th. So this is where that Trinity is formed. And 11, of course, is very much a master number. It's a Christed number, because this is the time to truly focus on that divine Christ that dwells within each and every one of us.
And there's never been a time when we've had more help to do that.
Mhm.
And I do believe we can attain more growth in this lifetime. In fact, in whatever time we might have left, than we could probably in 20 other lifetimes combined.
Right.
Great opportunity.
Yes. Hi, Kelly. Thank you.
I'd like to thank everyone who tuned in tonight. And Julie Hedges, thank you for being the inspiration for the topic of this evening's show, the Ascension symptoms. And I'd like to thank each and every one of you for shining your light the way that you do, for doing your work, for visiting your interior castle, and remembering that even when we are in the Garden at Gethsemane, we are never, ever, ever alone.
That's
ever
right.
alone.
And so it is.
That's
And
right.
so it is. Blessings be, everyone. Until
Blessings,
next month.
everyone.
Yes.
We love
Happy
you.
Thanksgiving.
Yes. Have a beautiful Thanksgiving.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.